Captain Lisa Martinez pressed her hand against the cold metal wall of the observation deck. Through the thick glass, she could see the edge of known space. It looked like a wall of darkness, but she knew it was much more than that. The other. Humans on the colony ship called it the Dead Zone. The aliens who ruled the galaxy called it forbidden space. But Lisa just called it home. She had been staring at that dark edge for 3 hours now. The night shift was quiet on the ship. Most people were sleeping or working in the lower decks. Lisa liked these quiet times. They helped her think. And right now, she had a lot to think about. The door behind her opened with a soft hiss. She did not turn around. She knew who it was by the sound of his footsteps. Jake Thompson walked like he was always in a hurry, even when he was not. "You are here again," Jake said. He moved to stand next to her at the window. "That makes it 5 nights this week." Lisa smiled, but kept looking out at the darkness. "I like the view." "The view of nothing?" "The view of everything we are not allowed to see." Jake was quiet for a moment. He was a good friend. He knew when to talk and when to listen. Lisa had known him since they were children on Earth. They had grown up together, gone to school together, and joined the space program together. Now they were both on the colony ship New Horizon, traveling between the 12 worlds that humans were allowed to visit. "The council meeting is tomorrow," Jake said finally. Lisa nodded. The Galactic Council met once every 3 months. Representatives from all the major alien species would gather to discuss trade, laws, and boundaries. Humans were allowed 1 representative. This time, it was Captain Martinez. "They will ask about the sensor readings again," Lisa said. "And you will tell them the same thing you told them last time? That we detected unusual energy patterns from beyond the boundary. That we want permission to investigate. And they will." "Say no again." Lisa finally turned to look at her friend. Jake was a tall man with dark hair and kind eyes. He was also one of the smartest people she knew. As the ship's chief scientist, he had studied every piece of data that came from the Forbiddens. "Zones. Jake, what do you really think is out there?" He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "I think there is life. Not the kind of life the Council recognizes, but life all the same. The energy readings we detect are too organized to be random. They have patterns. They have purpose. The Zentari say those patterns are just radiation echoes from dead stars. The Zentari have never been wrong about anything, according to the Zentari." Jake's voice had a bitter edge to it. "But they have never been outside their comfort zone either." Lisa looked back out at the darkness. The Zentari were one of the 4 major species in the Galactic Council. They were logical, careful, and extremely conservative. They had been exploring space for over 1,000 years, but they had never pushed boundaries. They found safe worlds, built safe colonies, and followed safe trade routes. The Violin were similar. They were older than the Zentari, and even more careful. They had once told Lisa that the secret to a long life was never taking unnecessary risks. The Korath were the oldest species in the Council. They had seen the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations. They claimed to have wisdom that came from experience. All 3 species had one thing in common. They were afraid of the unknown. "Lisa," Jake said, "I need to show you something." She followed him away from the observation deck and down several corridors. The New Horizon was a large ship, home to nearly 10,000 humans. It had been traveling between the 12 allowed worlds for over 50 years. Lisa had been born on this ship, so had most of the people her age. Jake led her to his laboratory. It was a cluttered space filled with computers, sample containers, and strange devices that Lisa could not identify. Jake was always building something new, always trying to understand the universe a little better. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a large screen on the wall. It showed a map of local space. The 12 human worlds were marked in blue. The areas controlled by the other council species were marked in different colors. And beyond all of that was a vast area marked in red. The Forbidden Zone, Lisa said. But look at this. Jake touched a control panel, and the display changed. Now it showed energy readings overlaid on the map. These are the signals we have been detecting for the past 6 months. They are not random. They are not echoes from dead stars. Lisa studied. A display. The energy patterns formed clear lines and clusters. Some of them seemed to pulse in regular rhythms. Others moved in complex spirals that looked almost like writing. Jake, this looks like communication. That is what I think. Too. But communication from what? Or from whom? Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. You think there are people out there? I think there is intelligence out there. Whether it is people like us, or aliens, or something else entirely, I cannot say. But this is not natural radiation. This is deliberate. They stood in silence for several minutes, both staring at the display. Lisa's mind was racing. If Jake was right, if there really was intelligent life in the Forbidden Zones, then everything the Council had told them was wrong. The dead zones were not dead. They were alive. Why have not the other species detected this? Lisa asked. Jake touched another control, and the display changed again. This time, it showed the biological tolerances of different species. Look at the radiation levels in the Forbidden Zones. The Zentari cannot survive exposure to that much high-energy radiation. Neither can the Velani or the Korath. Their bodies would shut down within hours. But humans? Humans are different. We evolved on a world with a damaged ozone layer. We have natural resistance to radiation that the other species do not have. We could survive out there, at least for a while. Lisa felt her heart start to beat. Faster. Jake, are you saying that we could actually go into the Forbidden Zones? I am saying that we are probably the only species that could. Lisa looked back at the energy patterns on the screen. They seemed to be calling to her, inviting her to come and learn their secrets. She had always felt trapped by the boundaries the Council had set. She had always wanted to explore, to push further, to see what was beyond the next star. The Council will never give us permission, she said. No, they will not. So what do we do? Jake turned to look at her. His expression was serious. We could ask for forgiveness instead of permission. Lisa knew what he meant. They could go without approval. They could take a ship and cross the boundary on their own. It would mean defying the Council. It would mean risking everything. But it would also mean finding answers to questions that had haunted her for years. Jake, she said slowly, how long would it take to modify a scout ship for long-range exploration? He smiled. Are you asking for a friend? I am asking for humanity. Then I would say about 6 weeks, if we had the right team. Lisa nodded. 6 weeks to prepare. 6 weeks to gather supplies and recruit a crew. 6 weeks to plan a mission that would either make history or get them all killed. She looked one more time at the energy patterns on the screen. Whatever was out there, it was waiting for them. And Lisa Martinez had never been good at keeping people waiting. 6 weeks later, Lisa stood in the cargo bay of the New Horizon, looking at the small ship that would either save humanity or doom them all. The Wanderer was a scout vessel built for speed and long-range exploration. It was also completely unauthorized. For what they were about to do. Jake climbed down from the ship's engine compartment, his hands covered in grease and his face bright with excitement. The modifications are complete, he said. We have triple the normal fuel capacity, enhanced, radiation shielding, and sensor arrays that can detect energy patterns from twice the normal distance. Lisa nodded. What about the crew? Amy Chun finished updating the navigation systems yesterday. She has plotted 17 different routes into the forbidden zones, each one designed to avoid the heaviest radiation fields. Jake wiped his hands. On a cloth. Carlos Rivera has the life support systems running at peak efficiency. We could survive out there for 3 months if we had to. And Ben Walsh? Ben has been working on the communication array. If we find anything out there, we'll be able to send the message back to human space. Assuming anyone is willing to listen. Lisa walked around to the front of the Wanderer. It was a beautiful ship, sleek and fast, but it was also small. Once they left human space, the 5 of them would be alone in a tiny metal box, surrounded by the vast emptiness of the forbidden zones. Are you having second thoughts? Jake asked. Every day, Lisa admitted, but not enough to stop. The cargo bay door opened, and Amy Chun walked in. She was a small woman with short black hair and the steadiest hands Lisa had ever seen. Amy could navigate through an asteroid field while drinking coffee and reading a book. She was exactly the kind of person they needed for this mission. Lisa, we have a problem, Amy said. Lisa felt her stomach drop. What kind of problem? The kind where Admiral Kevin Brooks is requesting a meeting with you in 1 hour. Lisa closed her eyes. Admiral Brooks had been her mentor when she first joined the space program. He had taught her how to fly, how to lead, and how to make the hard decisions that came with command. He was also one of the few people who might be able to guess what she was planning. Does he know about the Wanderer? I do not think so. But he knows something is wrong. He has been asking questions about missing supplies and unauthorized modifications to ship systems. Jake stepped forward. Lisa, we could leave now. The Wanderer is ready. We could be across the boundary before anyone could stop us. Lisa shook her head. No, if we run now, it looks like we are criminals. I want to give the Admiral a chance to understand why we are doing this. An hour later, Lisa sat across from Admiral Brooks in his private office. The Admiral was a large man with gray hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. He had been in space longer than Lisa had been alive, and his office walls were covered with medals and commendations from a dozen different campaigns. Lisa, he said, I have known you since you were a cadet. You were always the best pilot in your class, always the first to volunteer for dangerous missions. But you were never stupid. Thank you, sir. I think. So I am trying to understand why you are planning to steal a scout ship and fly it into forbidden space. Lisa tried to keep her expression neutral. I am not sure what you mean, sir. Admiral Brooks leaned back in his chair. Lisa, in the past 6 weeks, your team has requisitioned enough supplies to outfit a long-range exploration mission. Dr. Thompson has been modifying a scout ship with equipment that would only be useful in high-radiation environments. Navigator Chun has been studying star charts of the forbidden zones. Engineer Rivera has been asking questions about life support systems for extended missions. And communications specialist Walsh has been building signal boosters that could transmit messages across thousands of light years. Lisa said nothing. Either you are planning the most elaborate training exercise in human history, or you are planning to do something that will get you court-martialed and probably killed. Lisa looked at the man who had been like a father to her. Admiral, what? If I told you that there might be intelligent life in the forbidden zones, I would say that the Galactic Council has spent 1,000 years exploring those regions and found nothing but death. What if I told you that the Council might be wrong? Admiral Brooks was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. Lisa, I know you have always felt constrained by the boundaries the Council has set for us. I know you want to explore, to push further into the unknown. But those boundaries exist for a reason. The forbidden zones are called forbiddens because they are deadly. But what if they are not deadly for us? What do you mean? Lisa leaned forward. Admiral, humans are different from the other council species. We evolved under different conditions. We have natural resistances that they do not have. What if the zones are only deadly to them? Admiral Brooks stared at her for several seconds. Lisa, even if that were true, crossing into forbidden space without council approval would be an act of war. Do you understand that? The moment you cross that boundary, you become an enemy of the galactic community. Only if we get caught. You will get caught. The Council has sensor networks all along the boundary. The moment you cross, every ship in the fleet will be hunting you. Lisa stood up, and we will have to be very fast. Admiral Brooks also stood. Lisa, I cannot let you do this. You cannot stop me either. They stared at each other across the desk. Two people who cared about each other, but who saw the universe in very different ways. Admiral, Lisa said finally, what if we are meant for something more than just traveling between 12 safe worlds? What if humanity's purpose is to explore, to discover, to go where others cannot or will not go? And what if you are wrong? What if you cross that boundary and die? What happens to the rest of us then? Then at least we will have tried. Admiral Brooks walked around his desk to stand in front of her. Lisa, if you do this, I will have no choice but to report it to the Council. I will have to send ships after you. Lisa nodded. I understand. And if you survive whatever is out there, you can never come back. Do you understand that too? Yes? Then God help you. Admiral Brooks sat down heavily in his chair, because no one else will be able to. 3 hours later, the Wanderer slipped quietly away from the new horizon. Lisa sat in the pilot's seat, with Amy beside her handling navigation. Jake, Carlos, and Ben were at their stations, monitoring systems and preparing for what none of them could predict. Boundary approaching. Amy announced, crossing in 30 seconds. Lisa looked at the energy readings on her display. The mysterious patterns Jake had discovered were stronger now, more complex. They seemed to be waiting. All systems green, Carlos reported. Communications array active, Ben added. Sensors at maximum sensitivity, Jake said. Lisa took a deep breath, crossed the boundary. The moment they passed the invisible line that marked the edge of human space, every alarm in the ship went off. But they were not danger alarms. They were discovery alarms. The sensors were detecting energy patterns unlike anything they had ever seen. Lisa, Jake said, his voice filled with wonder. You need to see this. She looked at his display and gasped. The forbidden zones were not empty. They were filled with structures, with patterns, with signs of intelligence that stretched across entire star systems. Amy, plot a course for the nearest energy source. Already done. Carlos, Ben, prepare for extended operations. Ready? Lisa smiled as she pushed the engines to full power. Behind them, human space grew smaller and smaller. Ahead of them lay the unknown dot, and for the first time in her life, Lisa Martinez felt truly free. The Wanderer had been traveling through forbidden space for 3 days when they found the first ruins. Lisa stood behind Jake's chair, staring at the massive structures that filled the main display screen. What they were seeing should not have been possible. How big is that thing? She asked. Jake checked his instruments twice before answering. The central structure is approximately 50 kilometers across. The surrounding platforms extend for over 200 kilometers in every direction. Amy looked up from her navigation console. Lisa, there are dozens of these sites. My long-range sensors are detecting similar structures throughout this entire system. Lisa felt her heart racing. The ruins were clearly artificial, built by intelligent beings. But they were also clearly ancient. The metal surfaces were worn, smooth by countless years of exposure to space, and several of the smaller structures had collapsed entirely. Any signs of current activity? Lisa asked. Ben Walsh monitored the communication arrays from his station near the back of the bridge. No radio signals, no energy emissions that suggest active technology. Whatever built these places, they are long gone. Carlos Rivera emerged from the engine compartment, wiping his hands on a cloth. Lisa, we have a problem. The energy readings Jake detected from human space? They are not coming from these ruins. What do you mean? I mean, these structures are dead. They have been dead for a very long time. The energy signatures we followed here are coming from somewhere else. Jake turned to face the group. Carlos is right. I have been studying the patterns since we arrived. The ruins are just ruins. But there are active energy sources deeper in the system. Much deeper. Lisa made a decision that would change everything. Amy, plot a course for the nearest active energy source. Lisa, Ben said cautiously, we are already deeper in Forbiddance. Space than any human has ever been. If we go further, we might not be able to find our way back. We came here to find answers, Lisa replied. We are not leaving until we get them. 2 hours later, they reached the source of the energy readings. What they found was beyond anything they had imagined. A massive installation hung in space, its surface covered with symbols and markings that seemed to glow with their own inner light. Unlike the ruins they had seen earlier, this structure was clearly active. It is beautiful, Amy whispered. Installation was shaped like a flower, with dozens of petals extending outward from a central core. Each petal was the size of a small city, and they were all connected by bridges of energy that pulsed with different colors. Jake, what are your sensors telling you? Lisa asked. This is incredible, Jake said, his voice filled with excitement. The energy patterns are not random. They are organized, complex, purposeful. This is definitely some kind of technology, but it is unlike anything in our databases. Any signs of life? Not life as we understand it, but there is definitely intelligence. At work here. The energy patterns are responding to our presence. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Responding how? Before Jake could answer, the main display screen lit up with new information. The installation was scanning them, studying their ship with invisible beams of energy that somehow did not trigger any of their defensive systems. Ben, are we in danger? Lisa asked. Ben checked his instruments. I do not think so. Never it. It is not harming us. It seems almost ... curious. Suddenly, the communication array came to life. Not with radio signals or standard transmissions, but with something entirely different. Images began appearing on their screens. Pictures of star systems, of worlds, of beings that looked almost human, but not quite. Jake, are you recording this? Every bit of it. The images continued for several minutes, showing what appeared to be the history of an ancient civilization. Lisa watched as the beings in the pictures built great cities, explored distant worlds, and created technology that seemed like magic. But then the images changed. War, destruction, ships fleeing across the galaxy dot, and then silence. My God, Jake whispered. Lisa, I think we are looking at the history of the species that built all of this. What happened to them? I think they were destroyed, hunted down and killed by someone else. The images faded, replaced by new ones. These showed star maps, with various regions marked in different colors. Lisa recognized some of the systems. They were the current territories of the Galactic Council. Jake, those are Council worlds. Yes, and look at this. Jake pointed to a series of images that showed battles between the ancient builders and other species. Species that looked very familiar. Those are Centauri ships, Amy said quietly. And Velani, and Korath. Lisa stared at the display in shock. Are you saying that the Council species destroyed whoever built these installations? That is exactly what I am saying. The implications were staggering. The Galactic Council had not just forbidden humans from entering these regions to protect them from danger. They had forbidden it to hide the evidence of their own crimes. Ben's communication console suddenly came alive with urgent signals. "Lisa, we have a problem. I am detecting ships approaching from human space. A lot of ships." Lisa moved to Amy's navigation station. "How many?" 23 vessels, including 3 heavy cruisers. "It looks like the entire human fleet, plus Council ships." Lisa closed her eyes. Admiral Brooks had kept his word. He had reported their unauthorized mission to the Council, and now they were coming to bring her home. Or to make sure she never came home at all. "How long before they reach?" "You?" Essa asked. "At their current speed, approximately 6 hours." Lisa looked around at her crew. These 4 people had risked everything to follow her into the unknown. Now they were about to pay the price for her curiosity. "I am sorry," she said. "I have gotten you all into trouble that you do not deserve." Jake stood up from his station. "Lisa, we chose to come with you. We knew the risks. But did we know we would discover that the entire galactic order is built on lies?" Carlos spoke up from his engineering station. "What do we do now?" Lisa looked back at the ancient installation. The energy patterns were still pulsing, still responding to their presence. Whatever intelligence controlled this place, it seemed to be waiting for something. "Ben, can we send a message back to the approaching fleet?" "Yes, but they might not be willing to listen." "Try anyway. Send this message to Admiral Brooks personally." Lisa paused, thinking about what she wanted to say. "Admiral, we have made discoveries that change everything we thought we knew about the galaxy. The forbidden zones are not dangerous. They are crime scenes. The Council has been lying to us for generations. We need time to gather more evidence." "Sending now," Ben said. While they waited for a response, Jake continued studying the installation. "Lisa, there is something else. These energy patterns, they are not just random displays. I think they are trying to communicate with us." "What are they saying?" "I am not sure yet. But I think they are asking us who we are." Lisa made another decision that would change the course of human history. "Then let us tell them." She moved to Ben's communication station. "Ben, broadcast. Everything. Our ship specifications, our biology, our history, everything we can think of. Lisa, are you sure that is wise?" "No, but I am sure it is necessary." As Ben began transmitting, the installation's response was immediate and dramatic. The energy patterns became brighter, more complex. New images appeared on their screens, showing detailed scans of human biology alongside the biology of the ancient builders. And then, impossibly, they heard a voice. Not through their communication systems, but somehow directly in their minds. "Welcome, inheritors. We have been waiting for you." Lisa nearly fell down. Did everyone else hear that? 4 voices confirmed that they had. The voice continued. "You are the ones we prepared for. The ones who can survive where others cannot. The ones who will continue what we began. Who are you?" Lisa asked aloud. "We were the predecessors. We were the explorers, the builders, the ones who sought to connect all life in the galaxy. But we were destroyed by those who feared what we might become." Jake stepped forward. "The Council species?" "Yes, they could not follow us into the regions where we built our greatest works. So they destroyed our home worlds, scattered our people, and told the galaxy that we were a threat to peace." Amy spoke up. "But some of you survived? Not in flesh. But we preserved our knowledge, our purpose, our hope that someday another species would emerge with the ability to continue our work." Lisa felt tears in her eyes. "And you think that species is humanity? We know it is. Your biology, your curiosity, your refusal to accept limitations. You are what we were. You are what the galaxy needs." Ben's instruments suddenly detected the approaching fleet entering the system. Lisa, the council ships are here. Lisa looked at the installation, then at her crew, then at the approaching ships that represented everything humanity had been told to accept without question. Predecessors, she said, we need your help, and you shall have it. But first you must choose. Will you return to the cage they have built for you, or will you claim your inheritance and become what you were meant to be? Lisa looked at her crew one more time. She saw determination in their eyes, not fear. We choose to become what we were meant to be. The installation began to glow brighter than the sun. The light from the predecessor installation was so bright that Lisa had to close her eyes. When she opened them again, everything had changed. The Wanderer was no longer floating in empty space. They were inside some kind of chamber, surrounded by walls that seemed to be made of pure energy. Where are we? Amy asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake checked his instruments, but the readings made no sense. According to our sensors, we are still in the same location. But somehow, we are also somewhere else entirely. The voice of the predecessor spoke again, filling their minds with words that were not quite words. You are within our sanctuary. Here, you are safe from those who would harm you. Here, you can learn. Lisa looked around at the energy walls. They were beautiful, shifting through colors that had no names. What do you want to teach us? Everything. The location of our worlds, the secrets of our technology, the truth about the galaxy that has been hidden from you. Suddenly, the chamber, filled with images, not displayed on screens, but floating in the air around them like living holograms. Lisa saw star systems she had never imagined, worlds that sparkled like jewels in the darkness of space. These are the worlds we prepared for you, the predecessors said. Hundreds of systems, thousands of planets, all connected by our network of gateways. Carlos stood up from his engineering station, staring at one of the images. Are those stargates? They are pathways between distant stars. What would take your ships years to travel, you can cross in minutes using our network. Jake moved closer to examine the floating images. How is this possible? Your species has always been curious about the universe. We were the same. We learned that space is not empty. It is filled with currents of energy that connect all things. We learned to ride those currents. Lisa watched as the images showed massive ring-shaped structures positioned near stars throughout the galaxy. How many of these gateways exist? 10,000 active pathways, connecting every region of the galaxy. But they respond only to species like us, species like you. Amy had been quietly studying the star charts that floated around them. Lisa, these systems are not on any council maps. They show regions that are supposed to be impossible to reach. Because the council cannot reach them, the predecessors explained. Their biology prevents them from surviving in the energy-rich regions where we built our greatest works. But you can survive. You can thrive. Ben had been monitoring his communication equipment. Lisa, I am still receiving signals from the approaching fleet. Admiral Brooks is demanding that we respond. Lisa looked toward where she thought the exit might be, though it was hard to tell direction in this strange chamber. How long do we have? Time moves differently here, the predecessors said. What seems like hours to you is only minutes in. Normal space, but eventually you must make a choice. What kind of choice? The images around them changed, showing scenes of conflict. Council ships attacking predecessor installations. Worlds burning. Entire civilizations fleeing across the galaxy. The same choice we faced long ago. You can return to the limitations they have set for you, or you can claim your inheritance and face the consequences. Jake spoke up. What consequences? They will declare you enemies. They will hunt you. They will try to destroy you as they destroyed us. Carlos crossed his arms. And why should we do it? Because someone must. Because the galaxy is vast and full of wonders that should not remain hidden. Because exploration and discovery are not crimes, no matter what the Council claims. Lisa studied the images of the Gateway Network. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. With technology like this, humanity could spread across the galaxy in ways that had never been possible. But it would also mean war with the most powerful civilizations in known space. If we activate these gateways, what happens to the humans still in Council space? That depends on how quickly you can grow, how many worlds you can settle, how strong you can become. The Council will not move against your people immediately. They will try to negotiate first, to contain the threat you represent. Amy had been studying the star charts more closely. Lisa, some of these gateway destinations are close to human space. If we could establish colonies on these worlds, we could create a buffer zone. A place for other humans to escape to, Ben added. Lisa nodded. How many people would follow us? Jake had been thinking about the same question. More than you might expect. There are a lot of humans who feel trapped by the Council's restrictions. Scientists who want to study forbidden phenomena. Explorers who dream of seeing new worlds. Families who want a better future for their children. The predecessors seem to sense her thoughts. Your Admiral Brooks approaches with 23 ships. But aboard those ships are nearly 50,000 humans. How many of them do you think would choose freedom over safety if given the chance? Lisa felt her heart racing. 50,000 people. It was a significant portion of humanity's space-based population. If even half of them chose to join her mission, they could establish dozens of new colonies. How do we activate the gateway? Network? You already have. The moment you chose to become what you were meant to be, the network began responding to your ship's signature. Your vessel now carries the access codes that will open any gateway in the system. Ben's instruments suddenly came alive with new signals. Lisa, something is happening. I am detecting massive energy buildups throughout the system. The chamber around them began to fade, and Lisa could see normal space returning. But it was not the same space they had left. The ancient installation was now surrounded by dozens of glowing rings, each one large enough for a ship to pass through. The gateways are active, Amy said in amazement. Choose quickly, the predecessors urged. Your pursuers are almost here. Lisa looked at her crew. These 4 people had already risked everything to follow her. Now she was asking them to risk even more. What do you think? She asked. Jake spoke first. I think we came here to find the truth. Now we have found it. Amy nodded. I think humanity deserves to know what we have learned. Carlos shrugged. I think it is too late to go back now anyway. Ben smiled. I think Admiral Brooks is going to be very surprised when he gets here. Lisa moved to the pilot's seat. Then let us give him something to be surprised about. Amy, plot a course for the nearest gateway. Destination, the closest habitable world in predecessor space. Already done. Jake, prepare a message beacon. Include everything we have learned, all the evidence we have gathered. If something happens to us, other humans need to know the truth. Working on it. Carlos, Ben, prepare for gateway transit. Ready? Lisa looked at the approaching Council fleet on her display. In a few minutes, Admiral Brooks would arrive expecting to find 5 rogue humans in a stolen ship. Instead, he would find an active predecessor installation and evidence that everything the Council had told humanity was a lie. Activate the gateway. The ring directly ahead of them began to glow brighter. Space seemed to bend and twist around it, creating a tunnel of light that stretched into impossible distances. Lisa, Ben said, I am receiving a transmission from Admiral Brooks. Put it through. The Admiral's voice filled the bridge, tight with concern and anger. Captain Martinez, you will halt your vessel immediately and prepare to be boarded. You have violated council law and endangered the safety of all humanity. Lisa keyed her own transmitter. Admiral, we have made discoveries that change everything. The forbidden zones are not dangerous. They are crime scenes. The council has been lying to us. Lisa, whatever you think you have found, it is not worth starting a war over. Admiral, some things are worth fighting for. The right to explore. The right to choose our own destiny. The right to become what we were meant to be. She could hear the pain in Brooks' voice when he replied. Lisa, please, come home. I am going home, Admiral. Just not the home you expect. Lisa pushed the engines to full power, and the Wanderer shot forward into the glowing gateway. The last thing she saw before the tunnel of light closed behind them was the council fleet arriving at the predecessor installation, their sensors no doubt detecting the massive energy signatures of an active gateway network. When the light faded, they were in orbit around a blue and green world that sparkled like a jewel in the light of twin suns. The planet was beautiful, unspoiled, and completely uninhabited. Welcome to your new home, the predecessors said. Welcome to the first world of the new human empire. 3 months had passed since Lisa and her crew first crossed through the predecessor gateway. The beautiful world they had found was no longer empty. Thousands of humans had followed them through the portal and the first human colony in predecessor. Space was growing rapidly. Lisa stood on the balcony of the command center, looking out at the settlement they had named New Hope. Temporary buildings stretched across the valley below, housing the 15,000 people who had chosen to leave. Council space forever. More ships arrived every day, carrying families and scientists and explorers who had heard Lisa's message and decided to risk everything for freedom. The latest group arrived this morning, Jake said, joining her on the balcony. 2,000. More people, including a full medical team and 3 groups of engineers. Lisa nodded. What about supplies? We are managing. The predecessor automated systems are incredible. They have been maintaining this world for millions of years, keeping the air clean, the water pure, the soil fertile. It is like they knew we were coming. They did know we were coming. Jake looked out at the settlement. Lisa, we need to talk about what happens next. What do you mean? I mean, we cannot keep running forever. Eventually, the council will find a way to reach us, and when they do, we need to be ready. Lisa had been thinking about the same problem. The gateway network allowed humans to travel instantly between predecessor worlds, but it also meant that eventually the council would find a way to follow them. They had time, but not unlimited time. Have you found anything in the predecessor? Databases that might help? Jake smiled. More than you can imagine. Lisa, these people were not just explorers. They were builders, creators, inventors. The technology they left behind is centuries ahead of anything the council has. Show me. Jake led her inside the command center, where Amy and Ben were working at control stations that seemed to grow out of the floor itself. The predecessor technology was unlike anything they had seen before. It responded to thought as much as touch, creating interfaces that adapted to each user's needs. Look at this, Amy said, gesturing to a display that showed the entire galaxy. The predecessor network connects every major region of space. There are thousands of worlds like this one, all of them maintained and ready for colonization. Ben pointed to another part of the display. And the defensive systems are incredible. Each world has automated defenses that can protect against any known council weapon. Carlos emerged from the engineering section, carrying a device that looked like it was made of liquid metal. Lisa, you need to see this. The predecessors did not just build ships. They built entire fleets of them, stored in automated shipyards throughout their territory. Lisa stared at the device in his hands. What is that? A construction template. With this, we can build predecessor warships. Ships that are faster than anything the Council has, armed with weapons that can destroy a cruiser with a single shot. The implications were staggering. If humans could access predecessor military technology, they would not have to hide from the Council. They could fight back. How many ships are we talking about? Lisa asked. Amy checked her instruments. According to the database, there are over 50 automated shipyards in predecessor space. Each one can produce hundreds of vessels. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Are you saying we could build a fleet large enough to challenge the entire Galactic Council? I am saying we could build a fleet large enough to protect ourselves and anyone else who wants to be free. Before Lisa could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the command center. Ben quickly checked his communication systems. Lisa, we are receiving an emergency transmission from human space. It is Admiral Brooks. Put it through. Admiral Brooks appeared on the main display. He looked older than Lisa remembered, and there was a sadness in his eyes that had not been there before. Lisa, I hope you can hear this message. The Council has made a decision about humanity's future. They are giving us an ultimatum. Lisa felt her heart sink. What kind of ultimatum? Either we recall all humans from predecessor space and shut down the Gateway Network, or they will consider humanity a hostile species and act accordingly. Jake stepped forward. What does that mean exactly? Admiral Brooks continued his message. It means they will blockade our remaining worlds. It means they will cut off all trade and support. It means they will treat us as enemies instead of allies. Amy looked at Lisa. How much time do we have? 72 hours, Admiral Brooks said, as if he had heard her question. Lisa, they are serious about this. The Zentari fleet is already moving into position around Earth. The Valani have cut off all trade agreements. The Korath are demanding that we hand over everyone involved in the predecessor expedition for trial. Lisa closed her eyes. This was what she had feared from the beginning. Her actions had put all of humanity at risk. But there is something else, Admiral Brooks continued. Something the Council does not know. Over the past 3 months, nearly a quarter of humanity's space-based population has disappeared. They have been slipping away in small groups, following hidden routes to reach your gateway system. Lisa opened her eyes in surprise. A quarter of our space-based population? More than 100,000 people, Lisa, scientists, engineers, military personnel, entire families. They have heard your message about the truth of the forbidden zones, and they are choosing freedom over safety. Ben was checking his own communication logs. Lisa, he is right. I have been receiving coded messages from groups throughout human space. They are asking for coordinates, for safe passage routes, for anything that will help them reach predecessor territory. Jake was studying the galactic display. If that many people are already committed to leaving Council space, then maybe we do not need to negotiate with the Council at all. What do you mean? I mean, maybe it is time to stop hiding and start making our own demands. Carlos held up the construction template again. Lisa, with predecessor technology, we could evacuate every human from Council space within 6 months. We could build a new civilization out here, one that is not constrained by their fear and limitations. Amy nodded. The Gateway Network connects to regions of space that the Council cannot even reach. We could build colonies on worlds they do not even know exist. Lisa looked around at her friends, the people who had followed her into the unknown and helped her discover humanity's true destiny. They were right. They had spent 3 months running and hiding. Maybe it was time to stand up and fight. Ben, open a channel to Admiral Brooks. Full broadcast. Send it to every human ship and settlement in Council space. Channel open. Lisa took a deep breath and began to speak. This is Captain Lisa Martinez, speaking from the first human colony in our predecessor space. Admiral Brooks, thank you for the warning about the Council's ultimatum, but I have a different proposal. She paused, knowing that her next words would change the course of human history. To every human listening to this message, I want you to know that you have a choice. You can stay in Council space and accept their limitations, or you can join. You sin claiming our inheritance among the stars. Jake stepped up beside her. We have found worlds beyond imagination, technology beyond our dreams, and freedom beyond anything the Council has ever offered us. Amy added, the gateways are open. The path to a new future is waiting. Carla smiled. And if the Council wants to stop us, they will have to face the fact that humanity is no longer the weak species they remember. Lisa looked directly into the camera. The Council has 72 hours to make their decision, but so do all of you. Choose carefully, because this may be the last chance you get to choose at all. The transmission ended, and the command center fell silent. Outside, the twin suns were setting over New Hope, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson dot in 72 hours. The Galactic Council would learn whether humanity was willing to return to its cage, or whether the time had come for a new kind of war among the stars. As 72 hours passed faster than Lisa had expected, she stood in the command center of New Hope, watching the reports come in from across human space. The numbers were beyond anything she had imagined. Another convoy just came through. The gateway, Ben reported. That makes it 12,000 people in the last 6 hours alone. Jake looked up from his station. Lisa, we are receiving reports from human colonies throughout Council space. They are not just individuals leaving anymore. Entire settlements are packing up and moving through the gateways. Amy was tracking the movement on her displays. The LATEST reports show that over 60% of humanity's space-based population has now relocated to predecessor worlds. Lisa felt a mixture of pride and terror. So many people had chosen to follow her into the unknown. But that also meant she was responsible for their safety when the Council inevitably struck back. What about Earth itself? Lisa asked. Carlos looked grim. The reports from Earth are complicated. The planetary government is trying to stay neutral, but huge numbers of people are demanding transportation to the gateway sites. The Centauri blockade is making things difficult. Before Lisa could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the command center. But these were not emergency alarms. These were arrival notifications. Lisa, Ben said, his voice filled with amazement. You need to see this. The main display showed the space above New Hope. What Lisa saw made her gasp. Hundreds of ships were emerging from gateways throughout the system. But these were not the small civilian vessels that had been arriving for months. These were warships. Human warships. Admiral Brooks, Amy said quietly. The largest ship in the fleet was the Endeavour, Admiral Brooks' flagship. As Lisa watched, more and more vessels appeared. Cruisers, destroyers, support ships, and dozens of smaller craft. It was the entire human military fleet. Open a channel to the Endeavour, Lisa ordered. Admiral Brooks appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but determined. Hello, Lisa. Admiral, what are you doing here? I am bringing you the rest of your people. And I am bringing you some news about the Council's response to your ultimatum. Lisa felt her stomach drop. What kind of news? The kind that means we are all in this together now, whether we like it or not. An hour later, Lisa sat across from Admiral Brooks in the command center's meeting room. The man who had once been her mentor looked like he had aged years in the past few months. The Council tried to make good on their threats, Brooks explained. They moved fleets to blockade our worlds, cut off our trade agreements, demanded that we surrender everyone who had crossed into predecessor space. And they discovered that more than half of humanity was already gone. The people or trying to threaten no longer existed in council space. Jake leaned forward. What did they do then? They panicked. The Zentari demanded immediate military action. The Velani wanted to negotiate. The Korath proposed a complete quarantine of all remaining human worlds. Lisa could see where this was going. They could not agree on what to do. Exactly. And while they were arguing, more humans kept disappearing. Entire colonies, whole fleets, everyone who could reach a gateway. Amy had been studying the reports that Admiral Brooks had brought. Admiral, according to these numbers, less than 20% of humanity is still in council space. And most of those are on Earth itself, which is harder to evacuate quickly. Carlos spoke up. So what happens now? Admiral Brooks smiled for the first time since arriving. Now we find out what humanity can really accomplish when we stop letting other people set our limits. Over the following weeks, Lisa watched as the human presence in predecessor space grew beyond anything she had imagined. The automated shipyards that Carlos had discovered came online one by one, producing vessels that were faster and more advanced than anything in the council fleet's. Dr. Jake Thompson established research stations on dozens of worlds, studying predecessor technology and making discoveries that would have taken centuries using council-approved methods. Navigator Amy Chun mapped new routes through the Gateway Network, connecting distant regions of the galaxy that had been isolated for millions of years. Engineer Carlos Rivera worked with predecessor construction systems to build cities and infrastructure that seemed to grow themselves, adapting to human needs while maintaining the ancient technology that made it all possible. Communications specialist Ben Walsh established contact with isolated species throughout the galaxy, many of whom had been cut off from galactic civilization by council restrictions and limitations. But the most important discovery came when they activated a gateway that led to a region of space beyond anything the council had ever explored. What they found there changed everything. Lisa, you need to see this. Jake called from his research station. The display showed a star system unlike anything they had seen before. It was filled with structures, with energy patterns, with signs of active civilization. But these were not predecessor ruins. This was something new. Are those ships? Lisa asked. Yes, and they are responding to our presence. The communication. Array came alive with signals and patterns that were almost familiar. Almost like the predecessor transmissions, but different. More complex. They are trying to talk to us, Ben said. The main display filled with images. Beings that looked similar to humans, but were clearly not human. Worlds that sparkled with cities, built around incredible technology, and fleets of ships that dwarfed anything the council had ever built. Who are they? Amy asked. The answer came in the form of mental communication, similar to how the predecessors had spoken to them. We are the Wanderers. We are the species that left this galaxy long ago when the council wars began. We are the ones who have been waiting for the predecessors' inheritors to emerge. Lisa felt her heart racing. You knew about us. We knew that. Someday, a species would arise that could access the predecessor network. We hoped that species would be worthy of the responsibility. What responsibility? To explore, to discover, to connect the isolated peoples of the galaxy, to show others that growth and change are not things to be feared. Over the following months, the Wanderers shared their knowledge with humanity. They taught humans how to build ships that could travel between galaxies, how to find and contact species that the Council had never discovered, how to become the explorers and ambassadors that the galaxy desperately needed. The Council tried to stop them. Centauri fleets attacked human colonies, only to discover that predecessor defenses were impregnable. Velani diplomats offered negotiations, only to find that humans were no longer interested in compromise. Korath scholars claimed that humanity was disturbing the natural order only to be shown records of their own species' crimes against the predecessors. One by one, the younger species in Council Space began to rebel. They had heard the truth that Lisa broadcast, seen the evidence of Council lies, and decided they wanted something better. 3 years after Lisa first crossed into forbidden space, she stood on the bridge of a massive predecessor vessel, looking out at a galaxy that was changing faster than anyone had thought possible. Human colonies existed on hundreds of worlds. The Gateway Network connected thousands of star systems. And every day, more species were choosing exploration over stagnation, growth over fear. "Captain," Amy said from the navigation station, "we are receiving requests from 12 more species asking for access to the Gateway Network." "Grant them access," Lisa replied. "All of them." Jake looked up from his science station. "Lisa, we are also receiving reports from our deep space exploration teams. They have found 3 more galaxy-wide civilizations beyond Council Space. All of them are interested in making contact." Lisa smiled. The galaxy was so much bigger than the Council had ever admitted. There were so many peoples, so many worlds, so many possibilities that had been hidden by fear and prejudice. "Ben, open a channel to all human ships and colonies." "Channel open." Lisa looked out at the stars, thinking about the girl who had once stared at the boundary of known space and wondered what lay beyond. "This is Captain Lisa Martinez, speaking from Predecessor Space. To all the children listening to this message, I want you to know that the galaxy is vast beyond imagination. There are worlds to explore, peoples to meet, and discoveries to make that will take us generations to complete." She paused, watching as new ships emerged from gateways throughout the system. Ships carrying humans and aliens working together, heading out to explore regions of space that had never been mapped. Do not let anyone tell you that there are limits to how far you can go. Do not let anyone convince you that safety is more important than discovery. The stars are calling to us, and we have finally learned to answer. The transmission ended, and Lisa turned back to her crew. The same 5 people who had risked everything to cross the first Forbidden's boundary now commanded a civilization that spanned multiple galaxies. "Amy, plot a course for the galactic edge. I want to see what lies beyond." "Already done, Captain." "Jake, prepare the long-range sensors. If there is intelligent life out there, we are going to find it. Ready when you are." "Carlos, Ben, prepare. For extended exploration, we would not miss it." Lisa sat down in the captain's chair and looked out at the endless expanse of stars ahead of them. Somewhere out there were new worlds, new peoples, new adventures waiting to be discovered.